Imagine sending out a routine automated text message to your customer base.
Right.
It's just a standard payment reminder, something your marketing department drafted weeks ago.
Yeah, totally harmless.
Exactly. So you click send. And that single click just cost your company $6.6 million.
Ouch.
Yeah. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are wading directly into a regulatory landscape that is just punishing. I mean, it's complex, and it is evolving way faster than most IT departments can even comprehend.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got a really fascinating stack of sources in front of us today, including white papers, software brochures, release notes, and some incredibly detailed product demo transcripts. And they're all outlining this platform called Velocity by Customer Dynamics.
And, the mission of this deep dive is just critical for anyone operating a business today.
Yeah.
We need to dissect exactly how modern enterprises are surviving what has essentially become a terrifying regulatory minefield.
Right. It really is.
Because we are looking at a commercial environment where automated communication, the very thing that scales a business, can simultaneously bankrupt it.
Wow.
But companies still have to navigate this hazard, without sacrificing their ability to actually reach you, the consumer.
I love this topic. I really do, because contact center compliance software usually sounds like just the driest subject on earth.
Right. It sounds like staring at a spreadsheet.
Exactly. But the narrative in these sources, it isn't about software architecture. It's really about high-stakes corporate survival.
Absolutely.
It's about the psychological friction of the customer journey, the really intense interpretation of federal law, and just the absolute limits of automation.
Yeah, we're talking about a fundamental tension here. And it's born from a massive technological shift.
Right.
Like, it is frictionlessly easy to blast out 10,000 text messages today.
Oh, yeah. Takes 2 seconds.
But in direct response to that ease, regulators have laid down these legal tripwires everywhere.
And the gap between the commercial demand for that massive scalable outreach and the reality of incredibly strict legal compliance, it's just widening.
It really is. And the sources present Velocity as this sort of structural bridge across that gap.
Yeah.
But to understand the engineering of that bridge, we have to look at the chasm it crosses. We have to look at the numbers.
And the receipts in these white papers are genuinely staggering.
Yeah, they are.
Let's start with just the baseline metric of the risks. In 2023 alone, there were 1,683 TCPA filings.
Right.
And just to establish our baseline for you listening, though, most of you tracking the space already know the sting of this acronym. TCPA is the Telephone Consumer Protection Act.
Exactly. And while 1,683 federal filings in a single year might sound maybe like a manageable number across the entire U.S. economy.
Yeah, spread out, it doesn't sound too bad.
Right. But you have to look at the trend lines and, more importantly, the nature of these specific lawsuits.
Okay.
The data highlights a 43% increase in class action lawsuits between 2022 and 2023.
Wow, 43%.
Yeah, that is a massive year-over-year jump that indicates a systemic shift in how these laws are being weaponized.
I mean, a 43% spike in a single year, that isn't a statistical anomaly.
Not at all.
That is a gold rush. That is plaintiff attorneys realizing they have found a highly repeatable, highly profitable vein to mine.
It is entirely a gold rush. And the most critical statistic from the data explains exactly why.
Hit me.
69% of all TCPA cases filed are class actions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This isn't just one consumer suing because they got an annoying phone call during dinner.
Right.
These are massive aggregated claims and the average settlement, a staggering $6.6 million.
Okay, so mechanically, how are we getting to an average of $6.6 million?
Yeah, it's the math.
Because if a company accidentally texts a list of customers without the exact right legal consent, they aren't being sued for the actual tangible damages that a text message causes, right?
Well, of course not.
I mean, a text message doesn't cause $1,000 of physical damage to your phone.
No, it doesn't. And that is the crux of the legal danger here. The TCPA allows for statutory damages per violation.
Per violation. Okay.
Right. We are talking about $500 to $1,500 per individual text message or phone call.
Wait, depending on what?
Depending on whether the violation is deemed willful by the court.
Oh, man.
So if your database has a glitch or, your marketing team misinterprets a consent form, and you hit a list of just 10,000 people.
You multiply 10,000 by $1,500, and you're suddenly staring down the barrel of a $15 million maximum liability.
Exactly.
So it becomes really clear why companies are settling for an average of $6.6 million. They are terrified of taking that math to a jury.
Precisely. They do not want to risk it. And the legal framework is mutating too.
So.
Well, for decades, businesses only really had to worry about the federal TCPA. It was a singular, albeit complex, federal standard.
Right.
If your compliance team understood the federal definitions, you were generally safe.
Sure.
But the sources detail the rapid emergence of state mini TCPA regulations.
Oh, I've heard about these.
Yeah. Individual states are looking at the federal rules, deciding they aren't strict enough to protect their residents, and just writing their own legislation.
Which means Florida passes a law with specific curfews, then Oklahoma passes one with slightly different definitions of an auto dialer, then Washington chimes in.
Exactly. It's a mess. And layered right on top of that state-by-state patchwork, you have the CFPB.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Right. And they're enforcing things like Regulation F.
Okay, what is Regulation F?
For context, Regulation F was this massive overhaul of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, or FDCPA.
Gotcha.
It explicitly dictates the frequency of communication. It introduced rules like the 7-in-7 limit.
Meaning what, exactly?
Meaning a debt collector cannot call a consumer more than 7 times within a consecutive 7-day period regarding a specific debt.
Which, I mean, that sounds completely reasonable from a consumer protection standpoint.
Oh, absolutely.
But mathematically, if you are a contact center handling millions of accounts, tracking that rolling 7-day window for every single individual across different time zones, that is a computational nightmare.
It's nearly impossible.
It's like driving an 18-wheeler on a massive interstate highway, right?
Yeah.
But the speed limit randomly changes every 100 feet. The signs are in different languages depending on which county you are in. And if you go 1 mile per hour over the limit, the ticket is $6.6 million.
The highway comparison is apt, but the reality on the contact center floor is actually worse.
Worse how?
Because the dashboard of that 18-wheeler doesn't even show you your current speed.
Oh, jeez.
The driver of that metaphorical truck isn't a constitutional law scholar. You know, it's a 22-year-old agent just trying to hit their daily resolution quota.
Yeah, they don't know the intricacies of Oklahoma's mini TCPA.
Exactly. They just know they have a list of people they're supposed to contact today.
And this is exactly why anyone listening to this has probably experienced those weird, seemingly inexplicable delays when talking to a customer service agent.
Yes.
Or why a bank is suddenly being incredibly obsessively specific about how you opt into their text alerts.
Yep. They're covering their bases.
They aren't trying to build a frustrating user interface. They are terrified of stepping on a landmine.
Exactly.
Which naturally leads to a massive operational dilemma. Facing a multi-million-dollar threat, companies generally react in ways that actively sabotage their own business models.
They really do.
Yeah.
The sources outline a classic productivity versus risk dilemma.
Yeah.
When a general counsel walks into a boardroom and explains that the current outbound texting strategy carries a potential $15 million liability, the immediate human reaction is to shut it off.
Right. Turn the machine off.
And many companies do exactly that. They fall into one of two extreme behavioral camps.
Okay, what's the first camp?
On one side, you have companies that just risk the penalties.
Wow.
They run the math and decide that the revenue generated from massive automated outbound dialing and texting is worth the risk of an eventual lawsuit.
That's bold.
They categorize the multi-million-dollar settlement as a line item expense, just the cost of doing business.
Which is a wildly volatile way to run a company. You are essentially carrying an unexploded bomb on your balance sheet and hoping it doesn't detonate before the end of the fiscal quarter.
It is incredibly volatile.
Yeah.
And as the frequency of these lawsuits increases, remember that 43% spike. That model becomes mathematically unsustainable.
Yeah, the insurance premiums alone would become crushing.
Exactly. So then on the other end of the spectrum, you have companies that experience total regulatory paralysis.
The second camp.
Right. They get so spooked by the combination of CFPB rules and state mini TCPAs that they completely pause their outbound engagements. They shut down their dialers entirely.
But if you can't reach your customers, you can't collect debt.
No.
You can't cross-sell products. You can't remind people to renew subscriptions. So you eliminate the legal risk, but you introduce an immediate, devastating drop in revenue. It's the definition of a cure being worse than the disease.
It really is.
Yeah.
And trying to find a middle ground often leads to what the white papers call a siloed approach.
What does that look like?
Well, a company might buy one software system specifically designed to handle voice calls compliantly.
Okay.
Then they buy a completely different, disconnected system from another vendor to handle SMS, and maybe a third legacy system handles email outreach.
Oh, I see this constantly as a consumer. You get an email from a brand about a promotion, and 2 minutes later you get a text message about the exact same thing, and then later that afternoon, a phone call.
Yes.
It immediately signals that their internal systems aren't talking to each other. It feels spammy, it degrades trust, and from an operational standpoint, paying for 3 separate enterprise licenses is incredibly inefficient.
It degrades the customer journey entirely.
Yeah.
But the most significant and frankly painful reaction to this legal threat is the industry-wide reversion to manual click-to-dial.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. To understand why companies are forcing their technology backward, we have to look at what the law actually targets.
Okay.
The TCPA was designed to heavily regulate the use of an ATDS, an automated telephone dialing system.
And the legal definition of an ATDS is basically the central battlefield for all of these lawsuits, right? We've seen this fought over all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Exactly. The legal debates hinge on the concept of capacity and human intervention.
Okay, break that down for me.
Generally speaking, if a computer algorithm has the capacity to store or produce telephone numbers to be called using a random or sequential number generator and dials those numbers without human intervention, it is an ATDS.
Got it.
If you use an ATDS to contact a mobile phone without prior express written consent, you are violating the TCPA.
And that's where the massive fines kick in.
Right. The legal risk is astronomical. However, if a human being physically initiates the call, the liability profile changes dramatically.
So the logic is if the machine does the work automatically, you need incredibly strict, perfectly documented consent. But if you insert a human into the loop, you fundamentally change the legal definition of the system being used.
Yes. So what did major contact centers do to avoid being classified as an auto dialer?
What'd they do?
They stripped away the automation.
You're kidding?
No. They forced their agents to manually dial the numbers.
Wow.
The software might present a customer's phone number on the agent's screen, but the agent actually has to physically click the number pad or click a dial button for every single interaction.
But if I run a 500-seat contact center and my agents are processing hundreds of interactions a day, forcing them to manually initiate every single call sounds like an absolute productivity killer.
Oh, it destroys productivity. It artificially skyrockets the average handled time, or AHT.
Right.
And AHT is the core metric that contact centers live and die by.
Yeah, time is money.
Exactly. If an agent has to spend 5 extra seconds manually reading a number, ensuring it's the right contact, and physically initiating every call or text,
Oh.
and you multiply those 5 seconds across thousands of interactions a day, across 500 agents, you are looking at thousands of lost labor hours a month.
That's brutal.
The operational inefficiency costs the company millions in wasted payroll.
Here is where I look at the history of the contact center industry and see a pattern of extremes.
Yeah.
Because for years, contact centers leaned on brute force technology. They bought these massive predictive dialers that just called everyone in a geographic area simultaneously.
Oh, yeah. The robocall era.
Right. If a person answered and an agent wasn't available, the machine just dropped the call. It was a numbers game, and it resulted in incredible consumer harassment.
Total harassment.
Now that the regulatory hammer has finally dropped and the courts are enforcing these massive penalties, their only solution is to throw their hands up and go back to the technological stone age of manual dialing.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, we have cloud computing, we have sophisticated data pipelines, and we are making humans click a mouse 10,000 times a day just to satisfy a legal definition.
It highlights a really fascinating paradox about modern business communication, particularly regarding SMS.
What's the paradox?
Well, the sources point out a startling statistic. 98% of text messages are read.
98%. Wow. As someone who looks at marketing metrics, that number is almost mythical.
It is.
A highly optimized email marketing campaign might hit a 20% open rate on its best day.
Exactly. SMS is the holy grail of consumer outreach.
Yeah.
It cuts through the noise. It is immediate, intimate, and almost guaranteed to be seen.
Right.
Yet simultaneously, because it is so direct, it is the most heavily regulated and legally risky channel available.
The double-edged sword.
Yes. If your express written consent isn't flawlessly managed and documented, that 98% read rate turns into a 98% probability of being included in a class action lawsuit.
So the tension is incredibly clear. Businesses absolutely must use SMS to survive, but using it automatically is a massive legal hazard.
Precisely.
So there has to be a middle ground between reckless algorithmic automation and paralyzing manual labor.
And that middle ground is the core of what the Velocity platform claims to solve.
Okay, this brings us to the HSS revolution.
Right.
Velocity by Customer Dynamics is presented in these documents as a brand-neutral platform.
Yes, very important point.
Crucially, it integrates directly into existing CCaaS contact center as a service providers.
Right.
It's an overlay. This means a business doesn't have to rip out their massive underlying telephony infrastructure to get this protection. They just plug Velocity in over the top.
The brand neutrality is a key selling point because replacing a core CCaaS infrastructure is a multi-year, multi-million-dollar headache for an IT department.
Nobody wants to do that.
No. But the engine driving this overlay is something called human sequence selection, or HSS.
Let's break down the mechanics of HSS.
Okay.
We established that the law requires human intervention to avoid the ATDS definition. How does human sequence selection actually work on the floor?
Right.
Because earlier, you noted that manual click-to-dial was a massive productivity drain. How is HSS different from just clicking dial?
It sounds superficially similar, but the workflow and, well, more importantly, the cognitive load on the agent are entirely different.
Okay, explain that.
In a traditional manual dialing setup, the agent is doing the mechanical work of dialing and the cognitive work of reviewing the account.
Right, they have to think about it.
Yes. In the HSS model, the software acts as the ultimate preparatory engine, and the agent acts as a high-level executive curator.
Interesting way to phrase it.
The Velocity system does all the heavy computational lifting in the background. It sorts through massive data lists, applies the complex business logic, filters out the bad numbers, and prepares the customized text message or the voice script.
Wow.
It tees everything up perfectly on the screen.
So if we look at a hypothetical agent, let's call her Sarah, working as a debt collector in Ohio, what does Sarah actually see on her screen?
Sarah is presented with a fully prepared interaction. She doesn't have to search for the right number or type out a message. She reviews a clean, centralized interface that shows the customer's custom fields. Perhaps their specific auto loan type, their exact days past due, their current balance.
Everything she needs.
Exactly. The system has already drafted a highly personalized text message based on those specific fields.
Oh, that's smart.
So Sarah simply reviews the context, confirms it makes sense, and then clicks a single approve or select button to initiate the sequence.
But the crucial part is that the machine does not send the text without Sarah physically clicking that button.
Exactly. Whether it is a voice call or an SMS text, the human must take a deliberate physical action to launch it.
It reminds me of the relationship between a driver and a high-performance sports car with a manual transmission.
How so?
Well, the software has massive horsepower. It handles the speed, the data processing, the complex internal combustion.
Right.
But the driver, the human agent, still has to physically depress the clutch and shift the gears to initiate the forward movement.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And because the human is the one shifting the gears, it satisfies the regulatory traffic cops. The machine isn't driving itself. It's just providing the power for the human's decision.
The manual transmission comparison gets us halfway there, but to be truly accurate to the Velocity platform, we have to imagine a sports car where the dashboard is also actively preventing you from shifting into gear if you are driving through a school zone during restricted hours.
Right, because of the curfews.
Exactly. But focusing purely on the HSS mechanism, the reason this satisfies a judge in a courtroom is the audit trail of that keystroke.
Ah, the proof.
Yes, the law requires human intervention. HSS provides a recorded, auditable human keystroke for every single action.
So there's a log of everything.
Precisely. The system logs that Sarah in Ohio physically reviewed the data and initiated the sequence at a specific timestamp. The liability of an automated system is legally stripped away because the system fundamentally cannot fire without Sarah's explicit command.
And the sources heavily emphasize that this is an omni-channel strategy. This isn't just about avoiding auto-dialer definitions for phone calls.
That is vital. Velocity unifies voice, SMS, email, and WhatsApp into a single, cohesive interface.
Right.
This completely eliminates that disjointed, siloed approach we discussed earlier, where a customer gets bombarded across 3 different platforms.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. So Sarah can be reviewing a customer's profile, see that a voice call wasn't answered, and immediately use the HSS workflow to approve a highly personalized, compliant text message as a follow-up.
Without switching screens.
She never leaves the interface.
Yeah.
And she utilizes the exact same compliance engine for both channels.
Okay, so human initiation solves the how. It gets you past the federal ATDS definition.
Yes.
But earlier, we talked about the explosion of state mini TCPAs and CFPB regulations. They don't just care about how you call, they care deeply about when and who you call. If Sarah hits approve on a text message at 9 p.m. on a Sunday, trying to reach a customer in Florida, she is completely violating Florida's state curfew laws, regardless of whether she manually clicked the button or not.
She is.
So how does a human clicking an approve button solve the time zone problem?
It doesn't.
It doesn't?
No, human intervention alone cannot solve regional compliance. Expecting Sarah, or any agent, to memorize the daily curfew rules of 50 different states, track the rolling 7-day frequency limits of Regulation F, and cross-reference multiple do-not-call registries in real time is humanly impossible.
Oh, yeah, completely.
That is where the software has to step in and act as a set of digital bouncers.
Digital bouncers, I like that. Yeah. So if I'm looking at a list of 10,000 leads, and I know that a massive chunk of them are located in states with aggressive curfews, I need the system to proactively manage that risk.
Right.
How do Velocity's custom call windows function in practice?
The system operates an automated time zone management protocol. It continuously analyzes the contact data. It looks at the area code, the zip code, and any other available geographic metadata. It cross-references that location against a continuously updated database of state and federal laws.
Wow.
So if Sarah logs in for her shift in Ohio at 9:00 a.m. Eastern Time, and the system is processing a list of national leads, it knows that a contact in California is currently at 6:00 a.m. Pacific Time.
So does it flag the contact in red on Sarah's screen and warn her not to click it?
No, because that still leaves room for human error.
Ah.
A tired agent might ignore the warning and click approve anyway. Velocity's digital bouncer simply removes the contact from the queue entirely.
Really? It just hides it?
Yes. The agent cannot accidentally text or call someone in a restricted time zone because the system won't even present that contact on the screen for the agent to approve until the legal window opens. It acts as an invisible, mathematically rigid compliance shield.
That is incredibly smart from a risk mitigation standpoint. You're removing the human error element from the timing equation entirely. But time zones are static. What about people who just legally cannot be contacted at all, regardless of the time of day?
This is managed through comprehensive suppression profiles.
Okay, what does that involve?
The system constantly scrubs the massive contact lists against multiple layered databases before a lead ever reaches the HSS queue.
Like the do not call registry?
Yes, it checks the federal do not call registry.
Yeah.
It checks the various state do not call lists. And crucially, it checks the company's internal DNC lists.
Gotcha.
If a customer replied, "Stop P" to a text message yesterday, the suppression profile assures that their number is instantly and universally scrubbed from any voice or SMS campaign running today.
But the brochures go deeper than just basic DNC scrubbing. They talk about advanced suppression logic. What does that actually look like in a real-world scenario?
This is where the platform addresses the complexities of regulations, like the CFPB's Regulation F.
Right, the 7-in-7 rule you meant.
Exactly. It's not just a binary "don't call this person ever." It is often a conditional "don't call this person right now." Velocity enforces automated rest periods between attempts.
Oh, that makes sense.
If Sarah's agency called a debtor on Monday, and Regulation F dictates they cannot be contacted again regarding that specific debt for 7 days, Velocity automatically calculates that rest period.
Wow.
That specific contact is suppressed, hidden from the agent's view, until that precise legal cooldown period expires.
Wow. So the system enforces a mandatory, legally defined timeout. The agent literally cannot over-communicate because the system won't serve up the record.
Exactly. And the advanced suppression extends to emergency situations as well.
Like what kind of emergencies?
The sources specifically highlight the capability to block specific zip codes during regional emergencies.
Oh, like weather events.
Right. If a major hurricane makes landfall on the Gulf Coast, many states have laws that prohibit non-emergency outbound communication, like marketing texts or debt collection calls, to the affected areas.
Which makes total sense. Even without a specific law, it is a catastrophic public relations disaster to be hounding people for a credit card payment while their house is flooding.
Right. Hey, your auto loan is past due, while the car is literally underwater.
Yeah, that's horrible.
So with advanced suppression logic, a contact center manager doesn't have to rely on agents manually checking the news and cross-referencing zip codes.
Right.
The manager can instantly deploy a suppression rule blocking a cluster of affected zip codes, and the system pulls those contacts out of the HSS queue immediately across the entire enterprise.
And all of this filtering the time zones, the DNC lists, the rest periods, the emergency blackouts is happening dynamically, right?
Yes.
Because contact centers aren't just blasting a single static list anymore. They are running highly segmented campaigns.
Absolutely. The data ingestion engine handles massive amounts of dynamic metadata. You aren't just uploading a spreadsheet of phone numbers. You are ingesting comprehensive customer profiles.
Okay.
A floor manager can create a logical segment that says, queue up contacts where the loan type is an auto loan. The days past due is strictly between 30 and 60 days, and the outstanding balance is over $5,000.
That's super specific.
Right. And the velocity system instantly filters the database for that specific business logic, applies all the time zone curfews, checks the multi-layered suppression profiles, enforces the Regulation F rest periods, and then feeds only the surviving, perfectly compliant, highly targeted list to the agents for human sequence selection.
If I'm a floor manager and my underlying software is constantly hiding numbers that are under curfew and hiding numbers that are on a rest period and hiding numbers in a hurricane zone, I'm assuming I don't just want a vague sense that the system is working.
No, you need specifics.
Right. If my agents are sitting idle, I need to see exactly why a number is suppressed so I can reassign my team to a different campaign. Does the system visualize that missing inventory somehow?
It has a fundamental operational necessity, and it leads perfectly into how Velocity visualizes the data. It brings us to the receipts.
The receipts?
The dashboards, the activity logging, and the audit trails. Because if a company does get targeted by one of those predatory class action lawsuits we discussed at the beginning, it is not enough to just quietly be compliant in the background.
Right.
You have to be able to prove it unequivocally to a judge or a regulatory body.
If it isn't documented legally, it didn't happen.
Exactly. And that is why Velocity's deep logging capabilities are arguably the most critical feature for the C-suite and the general counsel.
What are they logging?
Everything.
Wow.
The system records every single action, every dial attempt, every call disposition, every SMS transaction, every curfew block, every HSS keystroke. It creates a robust, immutable audit trail.
It's the black box flight recorder of the contact center.
That's a great way to put it.
If the legal plane goes down and you get hit with a subpoena for a $6.6 million class action suit, this activity log is the indestructible orange box you hand over to your defense attorneys.
Exactly.
They can walk into court and say, look at this log, timestamp 10:1 a.m. Our agent, Sarah, physically approved the sequence via an HSS keystroke, proving human intervention.
Yep.
The system verified the prior express written consent, checked the Florida state curfew, confirmed it was within legal hours, checked the Regulation F rest period, and executed the text.
Check, check, check.
We did everything perfectly according to the letter of the law. It completely changes the dynamic of a lawsuit. It shifts from a terrifying liability to a summary judgment in favor of the defense.
It shifts the burden of proof entirely. But, the visualization of this data isn't just for defense attorneys digging through logs after a disaster.
No.
The UI is designed for real-time strategic management. The product demo transcripts describe these real-time dashboard visualizations in granular detail.
If we look over the shoulder of a contact center manager, what exactly are they seeing on this dashboard?
Well, a manager logs in and is presented with a comprehensive real-time snapshot of the floor's activity.
Okay.
They see the penetration rate, which tells them mathematically how far through a specific targeted list the agents have processed.
Right.
They see the volume of active calls occurring at that exact second. They see granular agent performance details, breaking down call dispositions.
Dispositions meaning the outcome of the call.
Exactly. Meaning they can see how many interactions resulted in a successful payment, how many were wrong numbers, how many went to voicemail, and how many requested a callback.
But how does the dashboard address the hidden inventory we just talked about? The numbers trapped behind the digital bouncers.
That is visualized in a dedicated inventory section of the user interface.
Oh, cool.
It doesn't just show a single opaque number of remaining contacts. It actively differentiates between contacts that are available versus the total list.
So if a manager uploads a targeted list of 10,000 leads, the inventory might show that only 4,000 are actually available for agents to dial.
Right. But crucially, the dashboard breaks down the exact reasons why the other 6,000 are unavailable.
That is so helpful.
It will visually display that 2,000 leads are currently blocked by a regional state curfew, 1,000 are suppressed due to internal DNC opt-outs, and 3,000 are currently locked in a mandatory Regulation F rest period from a previous dial attempt.
That level of visibility is a game changer for workforce management.
It really is.
You aren't guessing why your agents are churning through a list too slowly, or why they're suddenly sitting idle. You can see mathematically that the list is tapped out due to compliance constraints, not agent laziness.
And that data visualization allows contact center managers to pivot their strategies in real time.
Right, they can adapt.
If a manager looks at the dashboard at 9:00 a.m. Eastern and sees that 80% of their highly lucrative West Coast renewal segment is suppressed due to the Pacific time zone curfew, they don't leave their agents staring at blank screens waiting for the clock to tick over.
No, you got to keep it moving.
Right, they can instantly switch the routing, moving those agents over to an East Coast collections segment where the inventory is fully available and compliant.
Oh, wow.
The technology transforms compliance from a paralyzing roadblock into a strategic beta point that allows for real-time operational agility.
And all of this real-time agility requires the system to be constantly talking to the company's main database, right? Because the brochures mention SFTP and API integrations. Just to ground that for a second for you listening, essentially we're talking about secure automated pipelines.
Right.
They let the company's main CRM continually whisper updated customer info, like new account balances or fresh opt-outs, directly into the Velocity software without a human ever having to manually export or copy-paste a spreadsheet, right?
That is exactly what it means. The system seamlessly ingests data directly from the company's system of record.
Okay.
And it uses that continuous flow of data to dynamically populate the message templates we discussed earlier.
Oh, so it's always up to date.
Yes. So when Sarah clicks approve in the HSS workflow, the system has already pulled the customer's first name, their exact up-to-the-minute account balance, and their specific due date into the text message.
That's seamless.
The outbound communication is fully personalized, entirely compliant, and mathematically tracked from end to end.
Which brings us to the ultimate payoff for a business investing in this kind of architecture.
The ROI.
Because if we are being honest, implementing human sequence selection, configuring digital bouncers for 50 states, and maintaining flight recorder audit trails sounds incredibly restrictive.
It sounds like a lot of work.
It sounds like wrapping your sales and collection teams in miles of bureaucratic red tape. But the thesis of these sources is that this platform actually drives massive return on investment.
It does. And it achieves that ROI by flipping the traditional corporate paradigm regarding risk.
Okay, how so?
Historically, compliance is viewed purely as a tax. It's viewed as an artificial speed limit that inherently slows down revenue generation to prevent a lawsuit.
Right.
The argument presented in the Velocity materials is that this dual nature approach, saving money while simultaneously making money, turns regulatory compliance into a sharp competitive advantage.
The saving money part of the equation is obvious. We established at the top of the deep dive that avoiding a $6.6 million class action lawsuit or avoiding the massive insurance premiums associated with high-risk auto-dialing provides a phenomenal baseline return on investment.
Oh, for sure.
Risk mitigation pays for itself very quickly in this legal climate.
Absolutely. But the platform actively makes money by radically increasing agent productivity and list penetration compared to those agonizing manual click-to-dial methods.
Right, because it's so much faster.
Because the Velocity engine is handling all the complex, time-consuming logic in the background, the geographic sorting, the DNC scrubbing, the curfew calculations, the template population, the human agent can process interactions at an incredibly high speed.
They're just the curator.
Yes. They aren't typing numbers on a keypad or cross-referencing spreadsheets. They are simply reviewing highly curated data and making rapid executive decisions.
Which lowers the handle time.
Exactly. This drastically lowers the average handle time. Lower AHT means fewer agents can process significantly larger lists, reducing payroll costs while increasing overall outreach volume.
And then there are the advanced features that directly target conversion metrics. The sources highlight an integrated tool called C3 Payment. This stood out to me as a brilliant application of psychology to solve a very specific operational friction point.
It addresses one of the most significant bottlenecks in any contact center that handles transactions: payment collection.
Yeah.
Traditionally, if an agent gets a customer on the phone who agrees to pay a past due balance or purchase a new service, the agent has to pivot the conversation and ask the customer to read their credit card number out loud over the phone line.
Which is a terrible user experience.
It's the worst.
But beyond just being an awkward or embarrassing thing to do if you're sitting on a bus or in a coffee shop, from a business perspective, it is a massive point of conversion drop-off.
Oh, totally.
Any friction at the exact moment of payment kills the deal. A customer might feel insecure reading their Visa number out loud to a stranger, or they might not have their wallet in front of them, so they say, I'll just log in and do it online later.
Yep, the famous, I'll do it later.
And contact center managers know that I'll do it later almost always translates to a lost conversion.
Exactly. The C3 payment feature is designed to eliminate that friction entirely. It allows the agent, while still actively engaged on the live voice call with the customer, to seamlessly generate and send a secure, PCI DSS compliant click-to-pay web link directly to the customer's smartphone via SMS or email.
And just to clarify for you guys listening, PCI DSS compliance means the system meets the incredibly strict security standards required by the credit card industry to process payments safely, ensuring the company isn't storing sensitive card data on their own vulnerable servers.
Precisely. So the customer receives the text message instantly while the agent is still talking to them.
While they're on the phone.
Right. The customer clicks the link, types their credit card information into a highly secure, mobile-optimized web portal on their own device, and processes the payment.
So easy.
The agent never hears or sees the credit card number, reducing the company's security liability.
Wow.
And the moment the payment clears, the agent sees the confirmation pop up on their Velocity dashboard in real time and can thank the customer and close the account.
It is a massive upgrade to the customer journey. You are using the compliance software to actually enable a faster, more secure, higher converting payment process.
Furthermore, the sources detail an in-app mobile functionality, an iOS and Android SDK.
Okay, an SDK.
Yes, an SDK is a software development kit, which essentially allows a company to embed Velocity's communication tools directly into their own proprietary mobile app.
Like a banking app.
Exactly. This means if a bank has their own banking app installed on a customer's phone, Velocity can trigger targeted, highly secure push notifications directly to the user's device, completely bypassing the SMS carrier network entirely for existing app users.
That is super slick.
And again, to reiterate a vital point for the infrastructure team, all of this advanced functionality plugs directly into whatever existing CCaaS platform the company is already using.
Right.
The business doesn't have to endure a traumatic rip and replace of their entire telephony network to achieve this level of protection and conversion optimization.
It functions as an overlay of profound intelligence and safety. Because the software is silently absorbing the immense legal friction in the background, the agents can engage faster, secure payments instantly, and operate with total confidence that they aren't about to trigger a lawsuit.
Exactly.
We have traveled a considerable distance today.
We really have.
We started by looking at the terrifying murky waters of a $6.6 million average DCPA lawsuit and the explosion of class actions.
Minefield.
We explored the paralyzing operational dilemma where companies felt forced to either risk bankruptcy through fines or risk bankruptcy by turning off their automated dialers entirely. We examined the agonizing, inefficient reality of manual click-to-dial.
And we transitioned into examining the structural solution. We looked at the elegant, legal, and operational mechanics of human sequence selection, where the human acts as the vital, legally required initiator, while the machine absorbs the computational heavy lifting.
The gears in the sports car.
Right. We saw how digital bouncers automatically enforce regional state curfews and regulation F suppression rest periods. And we reviewed how bulletproof flight recorder audit trails provide real-time strategic agility for managers while simultaneously preparing an airtight, keystroke-logged legal defense.
It really is a masterclass in using software architecture not just to do things faster, but to do things safely within an incredibly hostile environment.
Truly.
For you listening, think about this the next time your phone buzzes. The next time you receive a perfectly timed, highly relevant text message from a business, maybe it addresses you by name, references a specific account balance, and includes a secure, frictionless link to pay a bill. You aren't just getting a simple text.
No, you're not.
You are witnessing the end result of an incredibly complex, high-wire technological dance of legal compliance, algorithmic data filtering, and human efficiency.
It is a remarkably sophisticated system designed for a very specific legal era. But analyzing this architecture raises an important philosophical and legal question, a final provocative thought if we look toward the horizon of this industry.
Oh, I'm ready. What is it?
Well, the current law and the defense against these massive lawsuits hinges entirely on the concept of human intervention.
Right. The human has to click.
The Velocity platform brilliantly utilizes human sequence selection to legally satisfy that specific requirement. The human clicks approve. But as artificial intelligence and large language models continue to advance at a breakneck pace and become integrated into contact centers, how will that legal definition hold up under scrutiny?
Oh man, that is a fascinating thread to pull.
Think about the trajectory. If an advanced AI analyzes the complex customer data, dynamically writes the highly personalized text message based on sentiment analysis, checks the localized state curfew laws, verifies the Regulation F suppress rest period, and then just waits for a tired human agent to mindlessly click a single approve button 10,000 times a day. Who is really initiating that sequence?
Oh, wow.
Is the human a genuine decision maker in that workflow, or have they simply become a biological relay switch for an algorithm?
Wow. If the human is just rubber stamping the AI's flawless logic, the concept of human intervention becomes a pure technicality.
Exactly. Where will the courts draw the line next? When the machine's preparatory work becomes indistinguishable from human intellect, will a simple, repetitive mouse click still be enough to keep a company out of those murky regulatory waters?
That is the ultimate question for the next decade of communication law. The legal X-ray machine might be fixed for today's specific set of rules, but the technology and the lawsuits are always mutating. Something to ponder the next time you hit send.